If you've ever wanted to invest in Section 8 rental properties, then you're going to want to watch today's video. We're really going to demystify the Section 8 program, break down exactly how the logistics of investing in Section 8 rental properties is really going to work. I'm James Wise with Holton Wise. This is Real Estate Investing Made Easy. Let's dive in. First property that we're going to break down today, 19201 Raymond in Maple Heights. Now, what we're going to do, I've got Nick Varner. He's a business partner of mine. He's an investor. He took our film team on a full video tour of this property. When Nick acquired this property, it was a messed up situation. The property had a ton of POS violations, needed a lot of repairs. So Nick went through, purchased the asset. It was totally distressed. He turned the whole thing around. He cleared off all the POS violations. He fully renovated it. And now it's available for sale for $54,900, totally POS clear. And he's already went through all the red tape to get the home Section 8 approved. This video is going to be really good for two types of people. The first type of person is someone who actually wants to buy this asset. When you actually close on this deal, what you're going to get for $54,900 is this completely renovated property with a Section 8 approved tenant in the property prior to closing at $950 a month in rent. That is government guaranteed rent. You're not going to really need to worry about evictions or things of that nature. You know, some of the biggest ROI killers in this business are evictions and tenant turnover, but getting government guaranteed tenants in there, that really reduces that risk. That's why I really love the Section 8 program, especially when we get into the lower class neighborhoods. And the second property that I'm going to show to you guys today is a very low class property, very, very cheap, and that is perfect for that property. But we'll get into that later. Back to this property. The second type of person that this video and this property and the footage you're about to see is going to be very helpful for is the investor who wants to get in, get their hands dirty, and do a lot of the work that Nick did. Nick purchased this property for a very low price and did a lot of the dirty work to get the property to what it is today, ready for sale for those investors looking for a simple armchair investment. So if you're not looking to buy this property already done, you want to be the guy who gets in and does everything that Nick did, definitely take a look at the footage, because as Nick walks everyone through this house, he breaks down exactly what he did, the processes, the bumps in the road, and the challenges he overcame to get this property to where it is right now today. So let's take a look at what Nick's got for us.
Hey guys, it's Nick Varner. This is my property here at 19201 Raymond in Maple Heights. And this is a single family, 3-bedroom, 1-bathroom home. I purchased this property back in the fall of 2018. 3 months later, we've turned this around from a house that had more than $18,000 in point of sale violations to a house that's now point of sale violation free through the city of Maple Heights. And also has just passed today a CMHA or a Section 8 housing inspection. So in today's video, I'm gonna be more educational based in terms of, yes, this property is for sale. Yes, there is a tenant going into this property. But what I'd like to focus on in today's video is what myself as the investor had to do to get this property from non-functional, a lot of violations with the city, and then now to how do we find a tenant? How do we work with the CMHA Section 8 program? Because that can open up a lot of doors to you as the investor. So as you take a look around the property, we had originally this property inspected through Section 8 about a week ago. And before that, we had a tenant apply to our unit probably about 2 weeks before that. So the process does take a little bit longer than a cash paying tenant does to place. As of today, they passed the final inspection. The property a week ago looked very much the same as where it looks right now. However, CMHA's inspections called out 5 to 6 violations on this property that already was in really good shape, but were just things that we just missed. So let me show you some of the violations that CMHA called out that we have now amended. So most of the house's windows have actually brand new windows in them. But in this case, this window had an older window, which was a single pane. Because the window was a single pane, the housing inspector informed me that the violation that he had was you need a screen or a storm. In this case, it would be winter, so you need a storm. So unfortunately, because finding a storm window to this exact spec within a week of the reinspection was difficult, we actually just went out and bought 2 brand new windows for this window and that window over there. So now this new brand new window, of course, passes inspection, which was great. So that violation was knocked out right there. So a lot of times in these Cleveland or Maple Heights or Garfield Heights or wherever, all these buildings were really built probably by similar developers in the 1950s. So the layout of all these houses is more times than not the exact same. The 3rd bedroom is up here in the second floor, and then there's 2 bedrooms on the main floor with a bathroom and a kitchen, and then typically an unfinished basement. Typically they run from 1,000 to 1,250 square feet per house. Up here, everything was in really good shape. They didn't screen any of the violations for outlets that were all looking good or windows, some of which are older, but they had the screens. But what they did call out was this particular globe here. We went down to Home Depot and put on a globe, which now it passed. It was really, $1 to add that globe. But at the time, I think the contractor that I was working with, he just missed it. So we put up a globe. That was a violation that, unfortunately, the first time through, we didn't quite get it right. So coming into the kitchen here, the kitchen, we did not do a brand new kitchen in here. We did do a brand new floor. We painted, we refinished this stuff. This stuff was really gross and nasty, so we cleaned it. But nothing here is really that new except for the floor. And pretty cool backsplash though, huh? But this here was a violation, which really was kind of one of those no-brainers, like how could we miss that? Because anytime you have an outlet in especially a bathroom, a kitchen, or in a downstairs basement area near a washing area, anytime you're near 3 feet with the water, it's going to be a violation with the cities, and home inspectors are going to call it out on housing reports, and definitely CMHA is going to catch it. So this outlet was not GFCI. It was not tripping. So that when you stick one of those grounding testers in, when it doesn't go to green, that's a problem. And so it was a very simple fix to put in a GFCI outlet, and now that, of course, passed.
Make sure you're subscribed to our investor mailing list. We are going to send you an email with the latest investment properties for sale every single day at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can expect a full video offering, just like what you've seen today, in every one of these emails. If you would like Holton Wise to sell a property you already own in a video just like this one, send an email to sales@holtonwise.com.
So coming downstairs, okay, this was another violation. So we had the door, but unfortunately, I believe it was this glass pane here. It was just a screen. You could say, well, of course it should have been there, but when there's a big scope of work on a project, in this case, the rehab cost was, a brand new garage roof, brand new concrete driveways and sidewalks, complete gut remodel, new furnace, new hot water tanks, a lot of permits being pulled. You can occasionally miss a few details, and sometimes you have to come back and fix them. So This glass pane we had to add because that was also a violation, or we just had to replace the screen door. In this case, I think they were able to find a glass pane to add there. So coming all the way down into the basement, a lot of times these projects, a lot of times what the tenants or other investors don't see is a lot of the money themselves is just poured into the basement, right? So here you have a brand new furnace. It's 93 efficiency. That's going to last for 20 plus years. Really big hot water tank here. That's brand new. And then we also have the updated electrical. You can see here, all the water lines were ripped out. When I got this, it was a bank-owned property, and all the water lines were ripped out. So we had a plumber come in and run PEX, and he did a really nice job, right? So he actually did exactly everything up to code. All these was permitted work, because when you get into a bank-owned property, it's on the city's radar. You have $20,000 in escrow repairs. You got to go out and pull permits. You have to go out and do things the right way. Otherwise, you will just not pass their inspections, and then you're in violations. They will start finding you. They will start hounding you. So these types of projects are really geared towards people with, connections to construction teams with a lot of time to work on these. These are actively based projects that not really geared towards the passive investor. Once you get through all that, then yeah, a passive investor can come through and buy these pretty effectively. We had 2 violations down in the basement, and they were really quite random. I don't know what was going on here, but there was another prong that was just sticking off here that was in the electrical. So this was as is, but there was another wire that just was loose. So what we did was we de-seated it, we decommissioned it, and got rid of it. It was a very simple violation. And then there was another ungrounded outlet down here, and he didn't even call it out as a violation, but he was like, what is this? So we just got rid of it. And then this is GFCI already. So those 2 things were taken care of down here. And the rest of the basement is very clean and dry, and everything's brand new. So no more violations down here. Okay, Cleveland winners. Here we go. So all this concrete here is brand new. We had that poured. Clearly it's a lot of snow on the ground, so you can't see that. We had to refinish all this deck, so that's all painted. The roof of the house, it's in good condition, but it's not a brand new roof for the house. The roof for the garage was brand new. We also had to build some retaining walls, and all the concrete on the driveway is new. So I'll show you first, there's 2 violations the CMHA inspector called out outside. First is in the garage, in the back of the garage, and the second is along the side of the house. Okay. So there was a couple of fixes we did in the garage, but one thing that was missed was on a couple of these boards back here, you see the expansion foam that the contractor elected to use. So these were violations because you could kind of see through part of the garage there with some of the boards that just need to be tightened up a little bit. So the contractor came through, and it's the first time I've seen it. Is it the greatest craftsmanship work? No. But it is effective enough that we passed the inspection test. And quite candidly, garages are not built for human beings to live in. They're built for storage and cars and possessions and things like that. So there needs to be a certain standard of construction and craftsmanship. But many of these garages that are 50 to 100 years old, you are not going to get perfect construction on these garages. There's just going to be wear and tear. And so, what you get is what you see on a lot of these garages. So let's go show you the other violation along the side of the road. Okay, so if you go up there and look at the corner of the house, there is you can see some nails and some aluminum patchwork along the siding there at the very top. we were missing a little bit of piece of siding at the top. So whoever ticked me off for this week had the assignment during the middle of January to go up there on a ladder and just cover it up with aluminum siding, and so that is no longer a violation. So those are all the violations that this house had. There was about 6 or 7 of them, and now as of today, unfortunately we missed the inspector for a great interview with him, but all those violations are passed, and now the Section 8 tenant, CMHA tenant, has been advised that, hey, good news, the house has passed all inspections and you are ready to move in. All right, so coming back inside, guys, thanks for watching this video. I just want to highlight a few things that you want to keep in mind if you're considering being an investor with Section 8 properties in the Cleveland market, or maybe the same principles apply around the country, or if you're looking to purchase Section 8 properties and be a landlord of Section 8 properties, whether you work with a property manager or whether you do it yourself. So some of the things that I've learned is that, you know, the Section 8 is really, really particular. So it seems totally reasonable as a landlord in general that, you know, you do not have holes in your roof, or that, you know, the furnace works in the middle of winter, or that there's hot water in the house. But some of the things in terms of, like, you might see a little bit of flaky paint on the walls. You might think to yourself, I mean, you know, whatever, big deal, it's a rental. Well, to Section 8 in the government, it's a really, really big deal, which is totally fine. You just have to understand that going into things. You know, these are really best practices anyways for most landlords, that your rental should look like in good condition so that the tenants aren't complaining all the time anyways. But Section 8 really enforces it, and they test it, the property, and they make sure it's in really good shape for their clients. It's gonna take a little bit more time when somebody moves in and when someone moves out, right? So when someone moves out of a Section 8 property, you have to get it really back up to the Section 8 standard, which is fairly difficult. And then you're gonna have to identify and screen those tenants. Just because they're Section 8 tenants, you still have to screen those tenants, right? So that takes time. Then you have to apply, have them apply with their caseworker, and then set the inspection date. Typically you will fail the first inspection. Then it's just about getting your team back in there in place quickly, because you really only have a week turnaround. If you fail 3 tests, the house is disqualified from the program. So you're not gonna then have a 4th shot. So you really need to know what you're doing the first time. It's not really a great idea to call out an inspection if the house is not ready to begin with, okay? So think about that as you're investing, is that these houses have to be up to par with what the market is showing, with what the Section 8 property is showing in terms of what their standards are. You need to meet that standard so that, you know, you're not just wasting your time, wasting their time, wasting the tenant's time. So those are some of the things that are maybe tougher on the landlord. Here's the thing though, as the barrier of entry gets higher into a marketplace, there are just fewer people that want to go into that space. So right now, everyone across the country talks about Cleveland, Detroit, Indianapolis, or all these places where they're saying population flight and all that stuff, and that there's no tenants. The reality is that there's an unlimited amount of tenants for these types of properties. What you're gonna get vacancy problems is when you're setting rents too high in neighborhoods that are rough, and then you're screening people and then you're not finding any tenants, but also because maybe you're not doing a very good job as a landlord to make this place look nice, right? If the place doesn't look nice or the place is not habitable, of course there's gonna be vacancy. This particular area could support either a cash tenant or a Section 8 tenant. So why did I do Section 8? Well, I believe fundamentally that A, it's been a pretty good program for me to work with, and B, once people move in, once you get past all this first initial month of, all right, we gotta find the tenant, we gotta find the right one, we have to, you know, get the inspection done, this is kind of wrong, that's kind of wrong. Once you find that person though, and you get past all that, what happens is that person wants to stay for a very, very long time. A, they have a nice house. B, it's really, really hard to find a landlord who's willing to work with Section 8 in this day and age, because they do make it more difficult. So that person's not necessarily going to want to up and leave. Plus, they have some skin in the game in terms of keeping your property looking good, right? Because if they destroy your property, then you're not probably going to pass the next Section 8 inspection, and then they're going to lose their particular voucher and they're going to have to move, and who really wants to do that anyways, right? So they have subsidized rent, which is really good for them, and it's probably a much better situation than where the tenants are currently living. And so they're going to want to hopefully keep that situation together. As long as you're a good landlord and they're a good tenant, then you should be able to build longer standing relationships and really reduce vacancy levels. Lastly, I also want to talk about how rental amounts work. So we priced this property, I believe, at $975. That's not to say that's where the rent's going to end up. The rent could end up higher or lower depending on the CMHA or Section 8 inspection or appraisal. So in this case, the inspection's done, we passed. That inspection is going to go back to probably a CMHA appraiser. And the appraiser, they have a max voucher number, which I'm sure that we can put on this video later in terms of the voucher number, the voucher amounts in terms of 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, 3 bedroom, 4 bedroom, 5 bedroom. They have a max bedroom voucher amount, but they also can just assign a value based on what they see are comparable rentals or also the condition of your house. Also, what is affected in the rental price is what are you going to pay for? What are you going to offer? In this case, I'm not offering a fridge. I'm not offering a stove. A tenant is expected to bring that. If I were to offer that, they would pay me more. If I'm paying for the gas, they will pay me a set amount more. If I'm paying for the electric, they will pay me a set amount more. In this case, I'm not doing that. What I am doing is paying for water and sewer. So they will add that in as another cost that they will send to me. You get paid on the third day of the month as a landlord in this market from Section 8. Once an inspection is complete, they will send me then a proposal. They'll say, hey, Nick, and Nick's, in this case, Nick's company, this is the amount of rent that you will receive for this property. Do you want to accept it or do you want to decline it? You can say no, but then you're back to square one. You're not going to work with Section 8 in that case for this property, and you got to go find a cash tenant, and that other tenant is going to be like, you're going to say, hey, you got to find somewhere else, I got to find another tenant. Or you can say yes and then establish a move-in date. Typically, you need to have the tenant or mail in or even potentially go down to the Section 8 office yourself with 5 different copies of the lease. And then give that into the caseworker, and then they will process that and get you set up to sign. Like I said, you're still working with a government entity, so the first couple of months are going to be a little bit more choppy. Don't freak out. You will get your money at some point. Then once it's established, it's like clockwork every single month. You get a certain amount from the government. Now, what has changed over this program over the past few years is you used to find people with the tenants would have something called a voucher, which would say, I have a 3-bedroom voucher and I don't pay any of the voucher. Section 8 or CMHA will pay all the voucher. I don't think that's the case anymore. I think that at least the tenant is paying 30% of the voucher amount, and that the CMHA program is paying the other 70%. Some tenants only have 15% subsidy in the rent, and then they are forced to pay the other 85% themselves. So every tenant is actually a little bit different with that. Can you evict a Section 8 tenant? Yes, you can, but it's a little bit more complicated. And but non-payment is non-payment. Not following the lease is not following the lease. But it will probably take longer if that tenant is not cooperative or is non-compliant to get that tenant out. So there is some risk, but there's some rewards in participating in the program. Again, major benefit is that there is so much pent-up demand from tenants to live in houses for very, very cheap rates for themselves. So essentially, there's just a nonstop waiting list of people that want to get into homes that essentially will have a voucher from CMHA to help them pay the rent. So I hope this was informative. My name is Nick Varner, husband of Juliana Matter Varner on the Varner team. If you're interested in purchasing property, you can talk to Juliana. If you're interested in asking more questions about investment or title opportunities, you can talk to me. I'm also the owner of Black Tie Title.
As Nick said, his wife Juliana is the listing agent on that property, so she'll be the one you want to contact if you'd like to make an offer on that property. We'll go ahead and put Juliana's contact info down below in the show notes. On top of that, you could also send an email directly to me, and I'll be able to put in that offer for you. Another thing he mentioned, like I said, Nick is a business partner of mine. He's also the principal owner of Black Tie Title. He's the guy running things. So Nick's involved in a lot of stuff. He's involved in a lot of real estate investing and construction work, any and everything. So if you ever want to get a little bit more insight and education on the business, definitely keep watching this channel. We're going to have a lot more educational content from Nick, just like we did today, out there for you guys. So if you're that armchair investor who's ready to buy, we can sell you this right now. Nick already did that dirty work. If you want to be the guy that does the dirty work, keep watching the channel because Nick's going to be showing a lot of his turnkey renovation products in the months to come. Now, I'm glad that we spent some time today educating you on the Section 8 program because this next property that we're about to talk about.
If you would like Holton Wise to sell a property you already own in a video just like this one, send an email to sales@holtonwise.com. Holton Wise has a worldwide audience of real estate investors. If you are a lender, home inspector, or anyone else with a real estate related business who would like to increase your sales and exposure with an ad in one of our videos, go to holtonwise.com today.
I think Section 8 is absolutely paramount to your success. 2997 Nursery, Cleveland 44127. If you have looked at the ultimate guide for grading Cleveland neighborhoods, I graded every neighborhood in the Cleveland market on a scale of A to F. Make no mistake about it, this property is in the highest risk neighborhood that we have here in the Cleveland market. So those armchair investors who want all the work done for them, that may have been interested in purchasing Nick's property earlier, this is not necessarily the investment for you. I want you to go ahead and keep that money in your pocket, especially if you're newer. If you're a brand new investor, this is not the first type of property I want you to buy. I want you to buy something a little bit safer, a little bit simpler, like the one Nick had up front. That's a nice low risk investment. This property, a little bit more risky, okay? I've priced it accordingly, $19,900, and you're going to get $775 a month in rent. If this wasn't a Section 8 property, I would still say there's some inherent risk to that deal because it's not about the fact that we can get someone to pay $775 a month once or twice. It's can we get them to pay $775 a month every single month they live there. When you start investing in these like really blighted or ghetto areas, you get these properties really cheap because there's an extreme hassle dealing with the tenant base in these low-class areas. Then you get people in and maybe they pay for 1, 2, 3 months and then maybe you got to evict them. When you go through the process of evicting them, they leave, the property's totally vacant, and then you got to deal with people coming into the home, breaking into it, copper thieves come in, they cut out all your copper. Apparently they never even feel the need to turn the water off when they do this, so water ends up gushing in your basement. So you get a couple $1,000 water bill. On top of that, you got to spend a few $1,000s replacing all your plumbing. Just nasty stuff. And that's why the properties are priced so low. I mean, dude, $19,900 for $775 a month in rent. That sounds insane. It sounds like you're on the gravy train to millions when you pick up a few of those assets. But then you're hit with, the realities of the neighborhood, all that tenants from hell stuff you guys see, right? That's why, I wanted to pair this property with Nick's property in his Section 8 tour there, because the one thing you can do to counteract all that risk is set these properties in these high-risk areas up on the Section 8 program. With the Section 8 program, the biggest negative to this property is that fear that your property is going to go vacant, you're not going to get that rent. But what we do, we reduce that risk as much as humanly possible by going Section 8. The tenant, they're unlikely to want to move quite often because they don't really have to worry about paying that rent. They're more or less living in this home virtually free. There's really no incentive for them to go anywhere else, and you're getting that guaranteed rent every single month. I still don't think, even though the guaranteed rent is coming in, It's good for that novice investor. Again, if it's your first foray, pick something a little bit easier. After you get your feet wet, get your beak really dipped into this business, then maybe you can move on to one of these, extremely difficult neighborhoods. But for now, let's have only those investors who know what they're doing, who've been through the low income investing business, who know the types of trials and tribulations they're going to have to encounter when dealing with a property like this. I think that is the investor, the guy that really wants to get dirty. That's the person who should be looking at Nursery. It's all the properties I've got for you today. As I said, the first property on Raymond, if you want, you could reach out to me directly. My email is going to be on the screen somewhere. Or you can reach out to Nick's wife, Juliana. We put all of her direct contact in the show notes. You can give her a call or an email to deal with them directly, maybe even pick Nick's brain a little bit about investing in general. Then we have the Nursery property. Just shoot me an email to purchase that property. Again, that one is not for the brand new or armchair investors. I really only want to talk to experienced investors when dealing with that property. If you are brand new and you really want to buy it, I will sell it to you, but I don't think it's an appropriate investment for you. If you're not sure on what type of investment you want, I urge you, keep that money in your pocket and continue watching the channel and educating yourself more. But for those investors who have been through the thick of things and are very familiar with low income investing, shoot me an email. That price point is great. That's a perfect property for somebody who's got their own team already built up. You already have your own hourly employees, and you can just slide that into your existing portfolio. As always, I'm James Wise with Holton Wise, and this is Real Estate Investing Made Easy.
Cleveland, Ohio is widely considered to be one of the top rental markets in the entire United States. This is because here in Cleveland, our housing prices are low and our rental prices and demand are high. At Holton Wise, we provide the complete turnkey solution for all real estate investors, whether they are local, out of state, or even abroad. As real estate brokers, we will provide you with agent representation to help you buy properties ranging from single-family homes to large apartment complexes. We even have referrals for lenders who can provide investment property loans to investors located in all 50 states, allowing you to capitalize on the use of leverage or other people's money. We have referrals to top-notch title companies so you know that all of your transactions are safe and secure, with every single property being delivered to you with clear title. Once you close on the property, we have an investor-focused insurance brokerage who can handle all your property insurance needs. This insurance brokerage handles auto, home, life, and business policies, but they specialize in working with policies for landlords. We also have full-service property management. We can handle all rental property advertisements, tenant placement, rent collection, evictions, maintenance, landscaping, construction, and repairs. In addition, Holton Wise also offers digital media and education. One day, when you are ready to sell your investment, Holton Wise, as the #1 seller of investment properties in the greater Cleveland area, can market your property in a video just like this one to our worldwide base of investors who are looking to capitalize on the high cash flow opportunities in the Cleveland, Ohio market.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe to our channel so you don't miss out on our latest content, including video tours and analysis of investment properties that are available for sale, real estate investment education, and our most interesting encounters with tenants from hell. Holton Wise, real estate investing made easy.